Today is December 17th of 2024, and as you can see by this headline, they say Gilgo Beach killings, investigators said to announce significant development in the case of Massapequa resident Rex Heuermann, the alleged Long Island serial killer who went undetected for what was initially thought just over a decade, but it turns out it's much more than that. Decades that this alleged serial killer went undetected. So I'm going to speculate what that big announcement is going to be based on what we read in this article. I'm going to give you a full recap of the case here so that you are at least on the same page, because I feel like this case gets so overwhelming. We've done multiple live streams, deep dives, looked at documents, map time, there's videos, there's all sorts of things. We've looked at his life by year. We might touch on that a little bit again today. And I just want to make sure that we all, up to speed, because it can get overwhelming. Even for me, every time that they're like, ooh, they could announce a new murder charge, I have to refresh my memory on who and, which cases are unsolved, which ones have now, what has he been charged with? What is happening next? Is there a trial date? All these things. So the rumor is that there might also be an initial trial date set for, today they might set it. Obviously, that could be delayed as things go on. I wouldn't get my hopes up because I think this is the tip of the iceberg. I think he's going to face many, many charges. Now, his biggest concern, of course, in jail is writing to another serial killer, a convicted one, the happy face killer, and asking him if he gets real butter on his bread. Okay, then. So let's check this article out. Then we're going to do some map time as well. I want to show you that so that you can visually see, well, wait a minute. Where did Rex Heuermann stay? Which, by the way, his family's moved out of the house now. They've moved to South Carolina, apparently. Where did he stay? Where was he operating? And which murders has he been charged with? Which ones are unsolved? Which ones might he still be charged? All of that. We're going to look at the map. Then we're going to look at some presentations that we've gone over in the past. I just think it's a really good refresher. I think this moment here calls for a refresher. If you agree, please like and share. And if you haven't yet subscribed, I hope that you will so that you don't miss out, especially on the upcoming live streams later. We've got 2 live streams planned for today, so I hope to see you over there. Live streams are always great. We have a very communicative, proactive, engaging community. So I hope to see you in chat over there. Okay, so investigators are expected to announce a significant development in the case of alleged Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Andrew Heuermann when he returns to court on Tuesday morning, the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office said. Reached by telephone Monday, Suffolk District Attorney Ray Tierney declined to discuss the specifics of the announcement. Defense Attorney Michael Brown of Central Islip told Newsday that he's not been briefed on any new developments. Now, the last press conference where they said there's going to be significant developments was in June, and they were. Rex Heuermann was charged with 2 additional murders, and they involved dismemberment. Okay, so that took a huge turn for his, speculated MO. No one really at that time could pinpoint that he was very likely a dismemberer. Many people didn't think that one killer could change his MO like that. Seems like he did, right? Based on those charges. And those date back way further than what was initially thought. So we'll go over, don't worry, map time presentation. I think you will visually understand it all in a moment, because as I say, it can get very overwhelming with all these charges. But when they say significant development, we can believe it's significant, okay? So the district attorney's office said that it has scheduled a news briefing following Heuermann's 9:30 a.m. appearance before State Supreme Court Justice Timothy Mazzei in Suffolk County in Riverhead. The district attorney has previously stated that Heuermann, already charged in 6 killings, remains a suspect in other decades-old unsolved killings along Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach, including Valerie Mack of New Jersey, whose parents told Newsday that they plan to attend Tuesday's news conference. And that right there is the biggest clue for me that Rex Heuermann is going to be charged with Valerie Mack's murder today. And if so, as scary as that is, I will be grateful that her family will now be on the road to answers for what happened to Valerie. Her half-sister, Tricia Hazen, said that she intends to watch the news conference from home. Tierney in June named Heuermann as a suspect in Mack's 2000 killing, when prosecutors unveiled a document that they discovered on a device seized from Heuermann's home that referenced the Mill Road location where Mack's remains were first discovered by hunters as a potential, now they say dump site. I'm going to call it a disposition site because doesn't dump site just always sound so horrible, for victims especially? If we're able to develop more information and get to the point where we can charge him, we'll talk about it, Tierney said of the Mack investigation at a June 6th news conference. Ed Mack, the adoptive father of Valerie Mack, said in June that he believed that prosecutors would likely charge Heuermann in her death before the end of the year. He said at the time that he was pleased with how the case had progressed. It looks like they are really mining the evidence, Edwin Mack said then. Mack told Newsday last week that police have been visiting family in New Jersey, tracking his daughter's movements in the days before she disappeared in October 2000. So see, they've also been visiting the family. Those are two big clues of what's going to happen today. A hunting dog led the hunters to Mack's body, which was located about 200 feet off Halsey Manor Road near a utility right-of-way on November 19th of 2000. Newsday reported at the time her body had been severed and placed into several large, dark-colored garbage bags. And some of her remains were found very close to the victims that he was just charged with the murders of. Well, I'll show you on the map. But yes, if he gets charged with her murder today, yeah, Rex Heuermann is then allegedly a dismemberer. Additional body parts were discovered more than a decade later near Gilgo Beach, investigators have said. Until she was identified in February 2020, Mack was referred to as Jane Doe number 6. Tierney has also declined to rule out Heuermann as a suspect in the death of Long Island native Karen Vergata, whose remains were found farther west along Ocean Parkway in 2011 and on Fire Island in 1996. 3 additional sets of human remains connected to the Gilgo Beach investigation remain unidentified: Peaches, Baby Doe, and Asian Doe. In fact, at the last press conference, they released new images of what they believed Asian Doe could have looked like in order to trigger new leads. I hope that they did get some tips from that effort that they made. I've continued to share it on X as well. So if you follow me on there, my handle is @TrueCrimeGizla. It's always helpful. If you see me posting something, if you also repost it, that really helps to keep the momentum going. Now, Heuermann, 61, an architectural consultant, was arrested near his Manhattan office on July 13th of 2023. He was arraigned the following morning on charges of first-degree and second-degree murder in the killings of Megan Waterman, Melissa Barthelemy, and Amber Lynn Costello, who were each killed within a year of each other in 2009 and 2010. Heuermann was then arraigned on a superseding indictment in January, charging him with second-degree murder in the death of Maureen Brainard Barnes, who was killed in 2007. Waterman, Barthelemy, Costello, and Brainard Barnes, referred to by investigators as the Gilgo Four, were the first sets of remains discovered near Gilgo Beach in 2010. A second superseding indictment in June charged Heuermann with second-degree murder in the 2003 killing of New York City resident Jessica Taylor, whose remains were also found in Manorville and near Gilgo Beach, and Sandra Costilla of Queens, whose body was discovered in the Southampton hamlet of Northsea in 1993. No one knows what Rex Heuermann was up to between 2010 and when he was arrested, in 2023. That is a long time as well, where I wonder what he was up to. I don't think he took a break for that long. It can happen, but I just don't think so. I think this case is just going to get bigger and bigger. Each of the 6 alleged victims and Mack and Vergata engaged in sex work, police and prosecutors have said. Prosecutors have said that DNA evidence links Heuermann to the 6 charged victims. And there's likely going to be a 7th, maybe even an 8th today. Witness statements and cell phone data also ties Heuermann to some of the women, several of whom had ties to the New York City area where he worked. Prosecutors have also said that financial records and witness statements show each of the women were killed at times when Heuermann, a married father of 2, was alone in his home. Tierney has alleged that Heuermann took notes from books about serial killings and that evidence found in his home showed that he had an interest in torture. I mean, those Google searches, if you haven't seen them, it's from the probable cause affidavit. You could check out that video. I'll link that below for you as well. Whoa, that's a deep dive on how he was caught. So I would recommend checking that one out. Heuermann, who has been held in isolation at the Suffolk County Jail in Riverhead since his arrest, has denied the charges against him, and his defense team has said that it intends to challenge the DNA methods used by investigators. Mazzei said at Heuermann's prior appearance in October that he intends to schedule hearings related to the DNA evidence in the case at Tuesday's court appearance. The judge said an initial trial date might also be set. So let's hear if that does happen from today's press conference. I'm sure they'll update us there. Thanks again to Grant Parpan for these wonderful articles. Okay, so now let's have a look at the map, and then we'll have a refresher on the presentation. So we're now on Gilgo Beach in Suffolk County, New York. And as you have just heard, Rex Heuermann, the alleged Long Island serial killer, has been charged with the murders of Amber Costello, Melissa Barthélemy, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and Megan Waterman, who were all found here on Gilgo Beach, which is why the case was initially known as the Gilgo Four. Now, you might be wondering what triggered the search, right? Shannan Gilbert went missing, and police were looking for her when they stumbled on the remains of 10 other people. How scary is that? And they don't think that she's connected to this alleged serial killer, as bizarre as that sounds. So, I know there's very differing opinions on that. Let me know what your opinion is on that below. So, if we're looking at this area, I want to show you the map because it then makes some sense as to why he might be charged with Valerie Mack's murder today, or maybe Asian Doe. Who knows, especially after all the new flyers and everything were released for Asian Doe in June. Okay, so if we're looking at these victims, right, he's been charged with those 4 murders, plus recently Jessica Taylor's murder. Now, she was dismembered. Some of her remains were found here, and some were actually found in Manorville. So if we zoom out, we go a little bit east, and we go here to where another killer operated, actually John Bitrolf. He was suspected in these murders, but they have since charged Rex Heuermann with Jessica Taylor's murder. Partial torso was found here, and some remains on Gilgo Beach. Now guess what? Very close to Jessica Taylor's remains were Valerie Mack's skull, hands, and right foot. Oh my goodness. So you see the proximity here in this area in Manorville. Well, then it makes some sense that he's a very likely suspect in Valerie Mack's murder as well, which is why he was named as a suspect, because if you look at where Jessica Taylor's remains were found, then about 1.4 miles east, Valerie Mack's remains were found. And look at this. Baby Doe's remains were found very close to Valerie Mack. But Baby Doe is the biological daughter of Peaches. Peaches was also dismembered, and some of her remains were found west of Tobay Beach, over here, and some of her remains were found over here. So just zooming out, if you see this, oh man, Sandra Costilla is the other murder that Rex Heuermann was charged with, the 1993 murder. Okay, and she was found quite far-ish, it's not too far, but far-ish east of where Jessica Taylor's partial torso was found. If I quickly measure it for you, just as the crow flies, just a straight line, it's 19.9 miles away, as you could see there, right? So, and Rex Heuermann, if you're wondering, if you didn't know, well, where did he stay? He stayed right around here, okay? Not going to be too specific here. YouTube doesn't like that. Massapequa Park is where he stayed. And so his family doesn't stay there anymore. They have moved to South Carolina. They haven't yet sold the home, so I'll keep you posted on what's going on there. But yeah, Rex Heuermann was living in his childhood home with his wife and 2 children, second wife. And one child is his stepson, and the other is his biological daughter, allegedly while committing all of these crimes. And allegedly while his family was traveling. So you've seen the maps, right? Now, what we're going to do is let's go over a presentation. Then I want to show you one press conference clip about Valerie Mack, because that's also important. That was from 4 years ago, and it tells us how they identified her, because she was known as Jane Doe number 6 for many years. So let's do a little summary over here. Rex Heuermann, 61 now, arrested in New York City on July 13th of 2023. He was charged with 3 murders: Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, and Melissa Barthelemy. And then in July of 2023, there was a 12-day search of his home, and more than 200 firearms were found. January 16th of 2024, he was charged with the murder of Maureen Brainard Barnes. Then in April of 2024, they searched the Manaville area, and that brought about a lot of speculation because that's where another killer had operated. The name was John Bitroff, and he was charged with 2 murders of Colleen McNamee and Rita Tangredi. So now that the investigators were out there, everybody was wondering, what's that all about? Is this linked now to John Bitroff? Is it linked to Rex Heuermann? Somebody else? What's happening? So they searched that area, and on April 27th, the North Sea search. And then on May 20th, they conducted another search of his home. A 6-day search. That was unbelievable to see another search because the home had just about been stripped in the initial 12-day search. And then on June 6th of 2024, he was charged with the murder of Sandra Costilla and Jessica Taylor. Now, again, if you quickly look at this map here, why that was so interesting is because John Bitroff lived in this area. He's another killer that was convicted of 2 murders: Rita Tangredi and Colleen McNamee. And initially they thought that he was a suspect in Sandra Costilla's murder. So it was quite surprising to hear that Rex Heuermann was actually charged with Sandra Costilla's murder, because the crime scenes were described as quite similar between Rita, Colleen, and Sandra Costilla. They said that the bodies were kind of posed and staged the same way, and they were all missing one shoe, things like that. So that was quite shocking, to the point where we were all wondering, well, damn, was John Bitroff like falsely accused of these? Apparently, there's DNA evidence that they have to charge John Bitroff with these 2 murders. But Rex Heuermann was charged with Jessica Taylor's murder as well as Sandra Costilla's. As you can see, then it would overlap this area where John Bitroff then operated. So, yeah, that was very big news at the time when there was another press conference where they said there's going to be a significant announcement. So let me show you this quickly here. I really hope this will help. This always helps me to just, visually be able to see, okay, and chronologically, when were the murders committed? Which ones has it been charged with? So these are the 6 charges, the murder charges that Rex Heuermann is now already facing. And as I say, after today, there's probably going to be a 7th, if not an 8th. And I think it's probably going to be Valerie Mack, right? So Sandra Costilla, 28 years old. She was murdered between November 19th and 20th of 1993. Her body was found on November 20th of 1993. Investigators said she was strangled, partially clothed, and she was stabbed post-mortem. Rex Heuermann would have been 30 years old at that time. Then Jessica Taylor. She was 20 years old, last seen July 19th of 2003. She spoke to her mom on the phone on July 21st of 2003, and investigators believe that she was murdered between July 21st and 26th of 2003, and that's very scary to think about because there is speculation that Rex Heuermann may have kept some of his victims for a few days and tortured them based on some of his Google searches, which we've gone over before from that arrest affidavit. Again, go check that video out if you haven't seen that yet. So her torso was found on July 26th of 2003, and then her skull, hands, and forearm were found March 29th of 2011. Rex Heuermann would have been 39 years old at the time. Then the Gilgo Four, so Maureen Brainard Barnes, 25 years old, last seen July 9th of 2007. Her body was found December 13th of 2010, and investigators believe that she was asphyxiated. Rex Heuermann would have been 43 years old, and there's a little phone icon that you could see there because the killer taunted her family, as well as Melissa Barthelemy. So Melissa Barthelemy, 24 years old, last seen July 10th of 2009. Her body was found on December 11th of 2010, and they believe she was asphyxiated, and Rex Heuermann would have been 45 years old at the time. Megan Waterman, 22 years old, last seen July 6th of 2010. Her body was found on December 13th of 2010, and they also believe that she was asphyxiated, and Rex Heuermann then would have been 46 years old. And then Amberlynn Costello, 27 years old, last seen September 2nd of 2010. Her body was found December 13th of 2010, and they also believe that she was asphyxiated, and Rex Heuermann would have been 47 years old. So these are the murders that he's already been charged with. 6 murder charges as of this recording. I'll probably have to pin a comment for the update later for what else he may have been charged with after today's court hearing. Now, if we look at this Suffolk County Police crime scene map, you can also see it's similar to the map that I showed you, of course, of the Gilgo Four. Asian Doe remains an unsolved case. And there, at that point number 5, the red circle, the first one is Jessica Taylor. That's where her remains were found. Remember, also in Manaville. And then I had circled Valerie Mack, because this is what they said about those 2 victims at the time. So Jessica Taylor, we've just gone over the details of what happened to her. And then Manaville Jane Doe number 6, Valerie Mack. An escort whose last known whereabouts was in Philadelphia in 2000. She was identified through genetic genealogy in 2020. Oh my word. Okay, as the victim whose remains were discovered on 2 separate occasions. Manaville in 2000 and Oak Beach in 2011. Now, if I quickly look at the Catch LISK map, you can follow Catch LISK on X. He wrote, Valerie Mack, he wrote this. Valerie Mack, on 11/19/2000, hunters came across multiple plastic garbage bags that contained a torso, legs, and left foot of a female victim along a wooded path of Halsey Manor Road in Manaville. Reports at the time believed that she was killed approximately 3 months prior. On 4/4/11/2011 then, head, hands, and right foot were found off Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach. The remains were found 250 feet from the remains of toddler Doe. Law enforcement determined through DNA that there was no relation between the remains and the toddler. The toddler was later determined to be the daughter of another victim known as Peaches. In May of 2020, these remains, formerly known as Jane Doe number 6 or Manaville Jane Doe, were identified through genealogical DNA as Valerie Mack. And that was also huge news. So we're going to see that press conference in a moment. It's very short, don't worry. Valerie was born 7/2/76. She was 24 years old at the time of her disappearance. She had brown hair, hazel eyes. She was 5 foot and weighed approximately 100 pounds. She was working as an escort in the Philadelphia area. Family said she was last seen in the spring or summer of 2000 in Port Republic, New Jersey. Her biological parents died when she was young, and she was raised by an adoptive family. She was living with her boyfriend in Port Republic at the time of her disappearance. She also had a son who is now in his 20s. Law enforcement considers her a victim of the Long Island serial killer. And here, with these 2 victims, they said their leg area was bound in a ball. You'd have to be a hunter or something like that. Their knees were brought into their chest area, so everybody thought, well, that's a hunter. Rex Heuermann is a hunter. He even bragged to former colleagues that he hunted bears in Alaska. I would love to know if that's really what he was doing or hunting women in Alaska, because this guy traveled a lot. He has properties all over the USA, traveled to Alaska. His wife is from Iceland. He traveled there before, so I think this case could be massive, as I say. Now, let me quickly show you how they identified Valerie Mack's remains, who was formerly known then as Jane Doe number 6. So this was a press conference. It's 4 minutes and 30 seconds long. That was from May 28th of 2020. So it's more than 4 years ago now when Valerie Mack was finally identified, even though she went missing in 2000. So it's been a really long time for her family to get answers. So today could really be very significant for them, right? Okay, so have a listen to this.
Department announced new tools and new strategies that we are utilizing to further the Gilgo Beach homicide investigation. As you may recall, during that announcement, we released photographs of previously undisclosed evidence found at one of the crime scenes. We also announced the launch of GilgoNews.com, a platform to better facilitate information sharing with the public. And finally, we announced that we are leveraging new scientific technology to further this investigation. Our goal was, and continues to be, bringing justice to the victims and to their families. Working together with our federal partners, we have been utilizing a scientific technique called genetic genealogy to identify our 3 remaining unidentified victims and to produce new investigative leads. The partial remains of the victim known as Jane Doe number 6 were first found on November the 19th of 2000 by a group of hunters in a wooded area off Halsey Manor Road in Manorville. More than a decade later, in April of 2011, while searching for Shannan Gilbert, then reported a missing person, dismembered remains were discovered near Cedar Beach on the northern shoulder of the westbound section of Ocean Parkway. DNA analysis confirmed that those remains were a match to those of the woman found in Manorville in November of 2000. Thanks to the work of our detectives and our partners with the FBI, today we are announcing that Jane Doe number 6 has been positively identified as Valerie Mack. Valerie Mack, who was 24 years old in 2000 when she went missing, was described as 5 feet tall and approximately 100 pounds, with brown hair and hazel eyes. She was working as an escort in Philadelphia at the time of her disappearance and also used the name Melissa Taylor. Family members last saw her in the spring or summer of 2000 in the area of Port Republic, New Jersey. She was never reported missing. It is our hope that our efforts bring some sense of closure and peace to Valerie's family. With advances in DNA technology and through our partnership with the FBI's Long Island office, a genealogy profile was established, which provided Suffolk County Police homicide detectives investigative leads to pursue. This led homicide investigators and federal agents to areas of New Jersey where they believed Jane Doe number 6 had ties. Interviews were conducted with potential relatives who provided investigators with additional DNA samples, which were processed and analyzed, leading us to determine the deceased woman's identity. Valerie Mack's identification represents progress in this investigation, but there is much work left to do. As detectives continue to relentlessly pursue leads related to her murder, we ask members of the public, friends, family, and associates of Valerie Mack to provide whatever information they have about her and the circumstances which may have led to her death. This site is dedicated to sharing information with the public about these unsolved cases while also providing additional methods for the public to submit tips. We are asking the public to carefully consider whether they may have any information that could further this investigation. You can submit a tip anonymously on this website. You can also submit a tip by calling Crime Stoppers at 1-800-220-TIPS or by visiting them at p3tips.com. We are continuing our effort to identify the remains of 2 additional unidentified victims found in Suffolk. They, however, present additional challenges. The Suffolk County Police, the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office, the FBI, and all of our law enforcement partners are working tirelessly to solve these cases. As demonstrated, new forensic technology, new investigative methods, and tips from the public are aiding us in our continued search for justice. Thank you for your time and for your consideration.
And let's see what happens today in the December 17th of 2024 press conference. If they are going to charge Rex Heuermann with Valerie Mack's murder, that is going to be huge. And hopefully closure for her family, her adoptive father, her half-sister, everyone, that they can finally know what happened to Valerie. And hopefully all these victims and the ones that Rex Heuermann has not yet been charged with and that are unidentified, like Asian Doe, Baby Doe, Peaches. I hope that those will also be solved over time. I'm very confident in this investigation, right? They've done so well since that special task force was formed in 2022. They have done incredible work and really making a lot of progress. So I will be following this case very closely, as I have been with you. And don't worry, if you ever feel overwhelmed, like this is just getting too much and who and what and where, then hopefully you can refer to a video like this, and I will continue to make these for you so we can all just follow along, be on the same page, and see this road to justice through with the family members. Because this, of course, is about them. This is not about the serial killer, allegedly, Rex Heuermann, to be sensationalized and all this. This is about justice for the victims, and I really hope that they will all get that. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you found this helpful, and I will see you at the press conference. The link is in the description box. Come and join us live over there. The live chats are always very interactive, very engaging. It's always great to have you there with us. I hope to see you there or catch you on the replay, and I'll see you in another video soon. Stay safe.